Imagine holding in your hand a piece of American history that carries not just monetary value, but also the story of a state, its people, and its heritage. One of the most fascinating coins in the United States quarter-dollar series is the 1999 Connecticut State Quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have seen and used in everyday life, without ever realizing the deep symbolism, history, and artistry behind its design. When we talk about old quarters' dollar value, we are not just speaking about their worth in circulation, but also about their historical importance, their collectible status, and the unique stories that make them treasures for coin collectors and historians alike. The Connecticut Quarter was the fifth release in the famous 50-state quarters program launched by the United States Mint in 1999, a program that revolutionized American coinage and inspired an entirely new generation of collectors. Before the program began, quarters carried the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse. But in 1999, everything changed with the launch of the program that allowed each state to showcase its history, heritage, and culture on the reverse of the quarter. The Connecticut State Quarter honored what is perhaps the most iconic symbol of the state, the charter oak, a legendary tree that stood in Hartford, Connecticut for centuries and represented the resilience, determination, and independence of the people of Connecticut. To truly understand the importance of this coin, we must go back to the late 17th century when Connecticut was under the authority of King James II of England. During that era, the king sought to consolidate power over the American colonies by revoking their original charters and forcing them into a single dominion governed directly by the crown. In 1687, Sir Edmund Andros was dispatched to Connecticut to seize the colony's charter, a document that granted the settlers the right to govern themselves. Rather than give up this charter willingly, Connecticut patriots devised a daring plan. During a tense meeting, the charter was produced and placed on a table, only for the candles to be suddenly extinguished in the dark confusion. The charter was spirited away and hidden inside the hollow of a massive white oak tree known thereafter as the Charter Oak. This act of defiance became a cornerstone of Connecticut's identity, representing liberty and the colonists' unwillingness to surrender their rights to foreign rule. The tree stood as a living symbol of freedom until it fell during a storm in 1856. Yet its story lived on, and by the time the United States Mint selected designs for the state quarter program, there was no doubt that the charter oak would be chosen to represent Connecticut. When the 1999 Connecticut Quarter was released, it featured a beautifully detailed engraving of the charter oak on its reverse. The intricate branches spread across the coin, symbolizing strength, unity, and deep historical roots. The obverse retained the portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, but modified slightly to fit the modern design standards. The designer of the reverse was T. James Farrell, an engraver with the United States Mint, who skillfully captured the massive tree's sprawling branches, giving the impression of both resilience and grandeur. The Connecticut Quarter quickly became one of the most admired in the entire program, not only because of its beautiful design, but because of the deep story it carried. It was more than a coin. It was a reminder of courage, independence, and the sacrifices made by early Americans. Now, when we discuss the value of old quarters, like the 1999 Connecticut issue, there are many factors to consider in circulation. These coins are quite common, as over 1 billion were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But for collectors, condition, rarity, and mint errors play a major role in determining value. A circulated Connecticut quarter may only be worth its face value of 25 cents, but uncirculated specimens graded at high levels by professional grading services can fetch several dollars, especially in pristine condition. Proof versions struck at the San Francisco Mint in both clad and silver are especially prized by collectors, as they were made in limited numbers with mirrored finishes and sharp details. These proofs were not intended for circulation, but rather for coin sets sold directly to collectors today. A silver-proof 1999 Connecticut quarter can be worth significantly more depending on its condition and demand. Beyond condition and mint type, Certain era coins make the Connecticut quarter even more valuable. Examples include quarters with off-center strikes, double dies, and striking anomalies that can increase the value many times over. Such coins are rare and highly sought after by numismatists. The Connecticut quarter also serves as a gateway for new collectors who are drawn to the beauty and storytelling of the 50-state quarters program. The program itself has been credited with creating one of the largest booms in coin collecting in modern history. Millions of Americans, from children to grandparents, began saving quarters from change in hopes of completing all 50 states by the time the program ended in 2008. The Connecticut quarter, being among the very first releases, holds a special place in that narrative. What makes this coin truly remarkable is how it bridges the gap between everyday currency and historical legacy. Every time someone holds a 1999 Connecticut quarter, they are not just handling a piece of metal. They are touching a reminder of colonial bravery, symbol of freedom, and a tribute to a state that played a vital role in shaping American independence. The charter oak may no longer stand, but through this quarter, its image continues to inspire and remind us of the enduring spirit of liberty that defines both Connecticut and the United States. The 1999 Connecticut quarter stands as one of the most powerful representations in American coinage, blending artistry, history, and national pride into a single design. And as collectors continue to study, preserve, and trade these coins, they ensure that the story of the Charter Oak and the history of Connecticut will live on for generations. This coin is not just worth 25 cents. It is worth a story that stretches across centuries. A story of resistance, freedom, and heritage that makes it one of the most memorable quarters in United States history.